What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react to some pretty big news about Trump and Canada, and of course, tariffs. Tariffs! 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 It's all I ever hear anymore. I'm gonna have to name my next newborn baby Tariff. And when they're 12 years old and they ask me, "Daddy, why am I named Tariff?" I'm gonna say, "You know what, son or daughter? You're named after the reason that Canada no longer speaks to us, and the reason that you have to come visit me in this padded room, in this insane asylum, because of Donald Trump in 2026 and his tariffs." So, in what can only be described as one of the most backwards, hypocritical, self defeating trade policy decisions in history, Donald Trump is enacting a 50% tariffs on certain Canadian goods. So this is obviously meant to hurt Canadians, but at the same time, this also hurts the United States. Americans have to pay more for Canadian stuff now. And there's a lot of very, very important stuff that we get from Canada. So, and inflation here is already very bad, and this is only going to make it worse. So, for so many reasons, this is so very stupid. So today, I really want to check out some of the reporting about this and try to understand what exactly is going on. So let's take a look.
This latest round of tariffs is in response to what the White House is calling discriminatory trade policies, with the levies set to come into effect on August 19th.
Oh my goodness. I'm going to have to get on some medication for this or something. I'm going to blow a blood vessel. It's just, when you hear this stuff, like that the US government is actually saying that, so we're doing this? Let me get this straight. We're doing this 50% tariff on Canada in response to Canada's discriminatory trade policies. You guys are discriminating against us for trade. I mean, you quite literally can't make it up. I mean, day after day, there's always something new with like Trump or the US and Canada and how fractured our relationship and trade is. And every time I'm like, you can't make this up. You couldn't write a movie script about this, because they'd say, your movie is it's too unbelievable what you're writing. Like, and then the president does 50% tariffs on that country. No one's gonna believe that. That can't be a movie. They wouldn't believe it. But if it was fiction, but this is real life and it's actually happening. So so still coming to terms with that.
The American officials pointing to provincial bans on American alcohol, supply management on dairy products, and quotas on American cars coming into Canada. As for the reasons for the latest tariffs, those are the reasons they gave. Now, the new duty.
I'm glad they're actually giving reasons. As stupid as the reasons may be, there are times when the US government doesn't give any rationale or any reason for our decisions. So I guess at least we get reasons. We get some reasons. So we can all sit together and say, "Oh, that makes no sense." So now we know for sure. They're at the most basic level, of course, because the United States is the one who started this entire situation with our discriminatory trade policies against Canada. That's the crux of this whole thing. over a year ago when Donald Trump started the tariffs on Canada for the first time. We started it. Canada has been responding tit for tat or whatever. Like most everything Canada's boycotts towards American alcohol, American goods, Canadians boycotting travel to the US. It's not just for fun. It's not just because Canada is unreasonable or that you've gone nuts. It's a response to what the United States is doing. So when we sit here and we got to hear the US government be like, yes, well, we're doing these 50% tariff, 50% now, tariffs for everyone because Canada's being real mean. It's like, just shut up. Just it's so frustrating because it's just what's the term again? Gaslighting? Like we're projecting. We're we're making it seem like Canada is the bad guy. Canada is the one who started this. Canada did this. Canada is just responding to what we are doing. Anyone with half a brain can see that. And it's like the US government is so desperate to rewrite the narrative to be like, well, if Canada would just stop picking on us. But it's not working. We're not falling for it.
He's hitting things like Canadian dairy, a long list of alcohol products, cement, and many more other goods. Those
Why do I always hear about Canadian dairy? By the way, being targeted by this stuff? You guys must have like the best sour cream, 2% milk, whatever. You must have the best dairy in the world because I always hear about how we're targeting the dairy.
same American officials say Trump is using part of the Tariff Act of 1930, which empowers the president to impose tariffs of up to 50% on countries that discriminate against U.S. commerce.
Oh my God, I had not heard about that. You have to be kidding me with that one. So, Donald Trump, if you don't know, a lot of the tariffs that Trump put into place against Canada for the last year, year and a half, are actually had to be taken away because the United States Supreme Court ruled that Trump cannot legally, by our own Constitution, by our own laws here in the United States, Trump cannot do these tariffs on Canada. Not to mention that they violate the free trade agreements we have with Canada. So for so many reasons, Trump is not supposed to be doing this. It's just taken time for the legal processes to catch up and actually say, you can't do this. All that those tariffs have to go and all the revenue we collected has to be returned. It's been a disaster. And it's because Trump is purposefully misinterpreting the use of tariffs that presidents are allowed to do in the United States. And so it's happening again. He's using some random law from 1930 that our great 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 grandpa might have heard of. He's using some random law to technically be able to put in to do these tariffs, which I'm sure this is going to be like evaluated and stricken down in 6 months from now. But he can do it right now because of the technicality of this 1930s law. Great. Wonderful that that's a thing.
Now, those tariffs will not apply to energy, some potash products, and some other goods such as fish and critical minerals.
It's funny that, like, he doesn't have any actual moral, philosophical, like, standards that because, like, energy is not being tariffed. It's being omitted because the United States really, really needs energy from Canada. So we won't tariff that, Like so you just know like there's no like if it's truly because he is upset with Canada from like a moral fundamental level, like I will not do business with Canada, that's not true because we are totally willing as long as it's stuff that benefits us. And if we think it hurts you, that's what gets tariffed. So you know that's his thought process.
They will also not be stacked on top of existing steel and aluminum tariffs. CTV News has reached out to the
Well, thank God, thank God, because that would like bring the tariffs over 100% or something. I bet. Like, you probably can't mathematically stack them. It's just not possible anymore. We've tariffed ourselves into a corner. 50% tariff. 50. It's unheard of. It's insane. 50.
Prime Minister's office. We've also reached out to Canada-U.S. Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc's office for a response. We are still waiting to hear back. Patricia.
All right.
Well, I know Mark Carney made some statements about this. You know, Prime Minister of Canada. Let's see what he has to say on behalf of Canada with this new news, because I'm sure this came as a shock to him.
As many of you know, yesterday the United States announced the intention in 30 days, to launch the latest, what is a series of trade actions against Canada in violation of our agreement, CUSMA, with the United States and Mexico.
Absolutely. Like that right there. I feel like that gets glossed over here in the United States. There are plenty of news outlets that are willing to crap on Donald Trump and say how dumb and he is, but not a lot that are like explaining just how egregious, like technically speaking, like the laws that are being violated, like breaking this trade pact with Canada, CUSMA. We're not supposed to tariff each other. Like that doesn't get talked about enough. How we're breaking that, like our word.
And I want to put this in a bit of perspective, then answer a couple of questions. The first is that in response to these actions, this began over 18 months ago. Canadians from coast to coast to coast have stood together. The federal government, provincial government, labor, business, Canadians themselves, uniting, focusing on what we can control, building strength here at home.
Yeah, I've heard this like in a weird roundabout way. The United States has actually like really like had can it's making Canadians feel very patriotic or unified or unfortunately against the United States as your common enemy, which is horrible to say that that's the reason, but in some backwards way, like some people are arguing this has almost been a good thing for Canada if you take out the pain and suffering due to the tariffs and other trade things and the threats and so I don't know exactly what Canadians think about all that, but I have heard that, and it's certainly true that Canadians are banding together against the US, understandably so.
Supporting each other, buying Canadian, and diversifying partnerships abroad. We've signed more than 20 economic and security partnerships internationally. Investment, machinery and equipment's picking up, economy's picking up. We're growing jobs at twice the rate in the United States. We're the fastest growth in foreign direct investment, investor confidence in Canada in over 2 decades, twice the rate of other countries. In the G7, we're projected to have the second fastest growth in the G7, not just.
Okay, I get it. Canada is doing real well. The US is just spinning in circles, not investing in ourselves, pissing everyone. I get, okay, fine. All right, I get it.
This year, but next year going forward. So the country is stronger. We're stronger because we're united, and we will remain united. I will be speaking with the premiers later this afternoon. I'll be meeting with them tomorrow. Minister LeBlanc will convene the Canada-U.S. Advisory Council later this afternoon. Earlier this morning, and I would say as well that throughout this time we have made a series of comprehensive and detailed proposals about how to modernize CUSMA, recognizing the transition that the U.S. is underway in the international and all its trading relationships, including with Canada and Mexico.
Because that's a big thing right now. CUSMA was up for renewal, big trade agreement between Canada, the U.S., and Mexico. Um, the United States has officially like declined to renew it, so there's a big negotiation process that's supposed to be happening. in the wake of this now thrown in, this monkey wrench thrown into it?
I spoke with President Trump earlier this morning. We
What?
agreed to intensify negotiations in the coming weeks, and the team and myself look forward to doing that.
That's a little vague. So, yeah, I mean that asks the question, like, what is Trump's intention with these tariffs on Canada? Is it to put pressure to force Canada to accept force, keyword force Canada to accept a trade agreement that Canada maybe doesn't want to? That's probably the most likely thing that's going on here, which is a very twisted thing to do to your neighbor and ally.
As always, Canadians, governments, business, labor will stand together to build Canada strong and to have a trading relationship with our North American partners that benefits everyone.
Are you considering retaliatory tariffs, dollar for dollar in the U.S.?
We have a situation where the American tariffs, the 338 tariffs, will come into effect in 29 days, and we will look at
This is a big question here. Like, as an American, I'm very interested in what Canada's response to this will be. Canada has responded in the past with retaliatory tariffs, also boycotting certain American goods. It's also kind of this never-ending cycle that Donald Trump seems to kind of revel in. We do something to Canada, he expects Canada to just roll over and be a good little country and, oh, do what we say or else we're gonna tariff you. And Canada has been doing what it should do, in my opinion. Like striking back, voicing its discontent, boycotting, protesting. These are things that in the United States we hold these as like important values and ideals, like the right to protest and disagree. And so I commend Canadians' attitude and actions to. It's just, again, very weird that we're talking about the United States in this situation being the instigator, being the bad guy. That's a very difficult thing for a lot of Americans to kind of wrap our head around and try to remain objective.
and we will look at all options in terms of how we would respond if they do come into effect. That's part of what we'll be discussing with premiers. Also, in parallel, as I just said, that I'd spoken with the president. We agreed to intensify discussions. We'll begin that right away.
A little vague right now. A lot of like, oh, well, we're going to go to a meeting and talk about that, where we'll talk about intensifying how we talk about it. Not that that's a Canadian thing, that's just like a politics thing. I'm curious how Canada is going to respond to this, and I guess I was hoping for more of a concrete answer, but it takes time.
This is part of
But when I think about it, it's like, it's probably a good thing that you guys take your time. Here in the US, Donald Trump makes announcements and decisions, very important decisions, very rash, very brashly, very quickly. So things move very quick in the US in that regard, but that's not a good thing, actually. So maybe our patience needs to be recalibrated.
the negotiation. So the first objective is to get a comprehensive agreement that benefits, obviously, both countries, that's consistent with CUSMA, CUSMA as it is and CUSMA as it will be, and we'll work towards that. But in parallel, when I say we will do whatever it takes and keep all options, obviously, it's a comprehensive plan.
Yeah, again, very like cordial, very professional political answer. Like, and also in contrast to the United States, our leader tends to be extremely emotionally charged and brash. Whereas Mark Carney, it's refreshing to see just like he's poised, he's not getting angry, he's just talking about how Canada is going to make a informed, smart decision about this, and not even really giving much away about that.
Should the provinces put booze back on the shelves? Will that help with these negotiations?
It's part of a broader The the provinces individually took those decisions in response to a series of tariffs that were put in place, and also threats to our sovereignty. Those measures have been supported by provincial citizens, and they're supported, and it's indicative in terms of other consumption habits, if I can put it that way, of Canadians, where Canadians have traveled. Other
Hmm. So they're asking if Canada is going to make concessions. I don't. It makes me think about like as far as making concessions to Trump. It just feels like that's never a good idea. I'm trying to be very objective about this. Like China is kind of our adversary, although we do a lot of trade with them and disagree with like their government and stuff and how they're run. But Donald Trump strangely really respects China. Like if you ever listen to Donald Trump talk about like China's leader, it's pretty positive. Like he respects him. And China makes basically no concessions to the US. And there's something about that Donald Trump like respects in trade or business or something. So there's a strategy of trying to appease everything Donald Trump asks for, and I feel like that just makes him ask for more and not respect. So Canada's approach here of just responding blow for blow, not backing off with reciprocal tariffs, or not backing off with the alcohol boycotting. It, it's not good for the U.S., but it's probably the correct decision for Canada. To be fair,
things that are on the shelves but aren't being purchased. The decision to change that, first and foremost, will be taken by the provinces themselves, each individually, and should only be taken, in my judgment, as part of an overall agreement. And that's what we'll work to accomplish.
yeah, it's kind of funny. Like, so now I understand it's not a federal ban on U.S. alcohol; it's a provincial ban. But Mark Carney kind of likes it. He's not like outwardly saying it, but he's like, you know what? If the provinces want to ban American alcohol, they can do that. And I imagine he kind of likes that as sort of a retaliation. So yeah, this was interesting. Certainly seeing the Canadian perspective on what the United States and Donald Trump is doing, threatening 50% tariffs on all these different goods, trying to hurt Canadian businesses and employees, simultaneously going to hurt American citizens, trying to buy stuff that's imported from Canada. Those costs get passed on to us. I think a lot of us were kind of confused about tariffs a while ago. Now a lot of Americans even understand tariffs. Like we're not excited by us tariffing anyone. Like that's not exciting, or we don't think that's good. I think at least a lot of Americans who are informed or paying attention at all don't like this. So Canada doesn't like it. American citizens don't like it. No one likes it. It's just really Donald Trump doing Trump things, kind of like stomping his feet, I guess, trying to force Canada into a bad position, trying to force some kind of bad trade deal. Something like that seems to be going on. And it's just not how you should treat your allies and your friends. That's the bottom line. So, extremely disappointing to see. Interesting to see the Canadian reaction to this. So, I guess we'll see what happens from here. If you enjoyed this, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment with your thoughts, especially if you're Canadian, hearing your perspective on all this stuff happening. That'd be very interesting, valuable. If you're interested in more videos like this, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching and see you next time.